One of the most important things to understand in all of marketing that every decision is really just an emotional decision, right? When you buy something, you're buying it because of an emotional response. But what most people don't realize nowadays is you can't just sell people on just purely emotions. There's so much information in the world right now. There's so much content out there that in order to stand out, you really need to cut through the market. And to cut through the market, you have to have something that makes you different. This back in the day was known as the unique selling proposition. What is unique about what you're doing? Whenever you're doing marketing, you're battling with two opposing forces. You have this emotional side, which I call like a dream state. Your head is in the clouds, right? Think about when you made your goals for 2025. You thought about all the amazing things you're going to do and how you're going to achieve it and what you're going to do and all these grand visions and I'm going to make a bunch of money and drive a nice car and have a nice body. Your head's in the clouds. You're not really thinking about how you're actually going to execute it. Now, if I was to come up and ask you, okay, great, how are you going to do that? It actually would make you mad because you're like, dude, I'm just trying to live in this fairy tale world. And so the same thing is happening and you're writing for sales pages or video sales letters or whatever. You have these two opposing forces that are always battling each other at one time. You have this one side that you're talking about, which is like this dream state where you're fantasizing. And then you have the actual thing, which is the unique proposition. They're not going to give you the chance to sell them on this dream state if you don't show them what's different about what you're doing. You really want to think of the beginning of your video sales letter as really just like a movie trailer for the movie, which is the rest of the video. So if you look at the best video sales letters, they not only put you in the dream state where you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna be able to go do this and live an amazing life and whatever, but they also say this other aspect of like, hey, there's the unique selling proposition of how this is different. And you need a little bit of teasing of both. Really, you want to think about it as a cake. It's just they're putting sprinkles on it, a little bit of dream stuff and a little bit of this. And when you do that, it's going to allow you to really capture people and keep the attention going so they give you time to actually sell them. Now, I want to show you a very important topic that, really kind of encaptures this so you can think about it. Now, most people, when they think about video sales letters and just anything in general, the way they're doing it is they're operating on this linear timeline. So think about everything in your discovery story. You've all heard, like, you want to have a discovery story, and some people tell you to do the hero's journey, this, that, and the other, whatever. That sounds great, cool. But the main thing that people don't realize is, like, you don't need a linear progression. People don't care about your linear story. What you really need to think about is when you're talking about a VSL, you have a start point, you start it, and you need to pop them out in the middle of the story about 2 or 3 minutes in and put them in this dream state. Because when you're telling the story, they're thinking, why does this matter to me? Or let's say you're talking about, for example, your unique selling proposition. It's like, cool, but now you're telling me about it, and now I'm thinking about all the things I'm gonna have to go do. Like if it's, for example, in dating, I'm like, hey, you're gonna, have this unique proposition where I'm gonna teach you this like texting conversation loophole that's going to allow you to get girls to want to text you. Well, you're thinking about how I have to text now. And so through this process of thinking about all the things you have to do, like texting or approaching girls or all the work, now you're like, fuck, I don't want to do that. I just want to live in this fairy tale world. So you're always battling those two opposing forces. And so as you're running linearly, you want to pop out, put their head back in the clouds to kind of spark that right emotion to keep them drawn in, and then you keep them going down the storyline. Think of it like a movie. Best movies, especially action movies, they don't start at the very beginning of the story. So, okay, here's my story and how it started. No, it starts at like here, right? The fucking chaos, everything comes in, it's crazy, and then it kind of sucks back out to like, okay, here's what happened. And then it starts at the start. And even then, it's going back. You're having blips where you're being pulled in and pulled back out. So you're moving down this line, you're tapping into this dream state, and then you're coming back and you're tapping into the future reality of the things they're going to be able to do. Then you come back out, you keep telling the story, and then you do the dream state and then the future reality. And the way you could do that is, let's say you're talking about what you're doing, and you just say, and once you're able to do this, you're going to be able to do this, this, this. And as a result, that's going to allow you to do this, 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 and feel this, and do this, and girls are gonna be all over you, and you're gonna have an amazing life, and guys are gonna be jealous of you and looking at you and whatever. The problem that I see with a lot of VSLs when I'm consulting on them is like most people are one or the other, right? There's someone who's just purely talking about the unique selling proposition, and they're just like, hey, once you do this thing, it's very different, it's very unique, because they think like, oh, I have this such crazy unique thing. And so they're only talking about this unique thing. But the thing is, people don't really care that much about the actual thing. Then you have this other side, which is like this dream world where I'm putting your head in the clouds, and you have some people who only sell on emotions because they heard from someone, some marketer told them every buying decision is an emotional decision. So they have no logic, no how do I achieve this? And so basically, as they're going, they're just hearing this. And so what happens is they'll have a VSL, and I see this all the time. It's like 4 or 5 minutes where they're just like, I'm going to teach you the secret technique, and the secret technique's going to allow you to get lots of girls and start going on dates. And once you go on dates, you're going to start hooking up with girls, and they're going to be chasing you. They're going to be obsessed with you. And once that happens, you're going to have people that are going to want to hang out with you. You're going to get invited to all the parties. You're going to become the man of your town. And then once that happens, you're going to get promoted at work, and you're going to be this and this and this and this and this, and that's going to, and it's like they're just going on the spiral. And eventually the person's just like, okay, great. How do I do it? Right? If they're asking the how do I do it question, you went way too far. You went too much down the spiral. And that's what I'm saying is you can't just sell them on dream state, dream state, dream state, dream state. You have to give them this. Now, the other piece of this, which is very important, which what I just said, you want to write out your discovery story or just everything you want in a linear fashion. Once you have it written out, then you can puzzle piece it together. You can move pieces around. You don't have to worry so much about the story being linear necessarily, right? You can kind of move things because you understand that you're trying to keep that open loop, that curiosity, that what's coming next. And you want to keep them engaged in thinking about and fantasizing about all the amazing things they're going to be able to do. When they're in that dream world and they're thinking about the future reality, they're picturing themselves. They're running through their mind of, oh my God, once I start using this thing, I'm going to be able to do this, and my life's going to be amazing, and that's going to lead to this, 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 this. That's how you really want to think about it. So I'm going to show you an example of this on a VSL that I just wrote, and I want you to see how most people, when they write a VSL, what do? They do the opening, and they pop out of the opening, and they're like, okay, in the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn how to do this, this, this. And then, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to teach you some formula that's going to teach you how to like get girls, right? It's just an open loop. You have no idea how it works. But the problem is there's so much information out there nowadays that if you just kind of roll in and you don't hit them with the movie trailer first, they're not going to give you the time of day to even listen. So you really have to pack parts of it up front. You have to sprinkle things in for them to want to even listen to you. So as you're rolling, you'll see this, right? You'll see how I kind of do it. And it's not linear, right? I don't even, there's no spot where I actually do the transition of like, in the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn this as this. Hey, my name's Daniel Neef, and I'm going to teach you how to do this. I've done this, but it wasn't always like this. My life used to look like this. I used to be a copywriter who made who was a 12K in debt. And then I went to this, and I started making $10,000 a month as a copywriter. And then it wasn't always like that because this happened, and this happened, and this happened. That's a linear fashion. The best copy is blended. You can't really feel that there's any sections. There's no pieces that are different from the other pieces. It doesn't feel like a sectioned piece of copy. It's good to do that in the beginning when you're learning, but people start to feel boxed in when you're putting them in this structure. You want it to feel like a smooth transition where you're just starting to sprinkle in stuff. So you have this story that's running, right? You have a story or even a VSL that's running, and then you're packing in throughout little sprinkles, and then you're coming in and throwing in the emotional state stuff, right? And then you're coming in and you're throwing in the dream state stuff that puts them in this kind of state where they're just like, oh my God, I can achieve this. I'm going to have this. I'm going to be able to do this. And they're all getting all excited. You're amping up and amplifying the emotions, raising the temperature, right? So you want to think about it as you go along, the temperature is just dropping. And eventually you got to spike the temperature again. So you're just buying yourself more time, right? So I'll show you an example, right? This one, I'm like, have you ever been talking to a beautiful girl or woman, things are going well, and she's totally into you. But when she asks for your number and says, says, let's just be friends? Or how about, the time you finally got a date with a girl you always liked? You took her out, spent money on her, and treated her like a gentleman. But when it's all said and done, she said, you're a sweet guy, but I just don't feel anything. And let's not forget about this, right? At the end of it all, you still got ghosted. I'm going to kind of skip parts. If this happened to you, you're not alone, right? This happens to thousands of men. It's not because this, not because that. How do I know? Well, because I tried all that crap. So this, you could say I'm transitioning into the discovery story right now, which doesn't make sense, right? Normally you want to build it up and then say in the next 5 minutes you're gonna be able to do this, but I'm packing stuff in up front. So I'm like, I tried this, none of it worked. The sad part is, and honestly I feel ashamed of admitting this, I didn't have my first serious relationship until I was 26 years old. Yes, 26 years old. And that girl, she ended up cheating on me with a guy from church. So when I tell you I was bad with women, it's no exaggeration. In fact, I was so bad that even my high school classmates voted me as the guy who was least likely to ever get a girlfriend. But fast forward to 2025, my life looks a whole lot different. Every morning I roll over and there's a stunning woman lying in bed next to me, my girlfriend. Then I'm like, boom, boom, So what am I doing here? Well, what is this? This is a discovery story, right? But I missed all the pieces that normally people have. I did a before and after. So I'm packing a before and after in up front. So they're like, damn, right? Because what do you think is the question that's going to come as a result of this? Well, the next thing they're going to ask is, well, how the did you do that, right? Instead of doing what most people do, which is this long story, they have the before, then they talk about, oh, I tried this thing, it didn't work, and then I tried this, didn't work, tried this, didn't work, and I had a bunch of failure, Then eventually I found this fucking, piece of note on the ground, and then the note told me about how there's this seduction hack that I should try. So I went and tried it and it fucking actually worked. And I got a bunch of girls. And then from there, my life became a lot better. And then I did this. And now you're going to be able to do this. And I turned it into a formula. It's very linear, right? And then it becomes very obvious because it's like, it's too linear. If it's blended, right? You're blending the things together. It doesn't feel linear. So I'm doing this before snapshot. Think of it like a snapshot. I'm literally snapshotting the before and the after. And then what happens as a result of that? It creates a hook that makes you want to go, well, what did he do differently? What changed? That is the answer that you want them to be thinking. Not, I'm just going to tell you whether you want to hear it or not. No, that's not how you do it. You do it like this. You create the snapshot, and that snapshot or the movie trailer is then what makes them want to watch the full movie. And then you can see I kind of blended in there, and I'm like, but the thing is, like, and I'm like, if I told you this 20 years ago, my life, but the thing is, I have proof. Like, there's this girl, this girl, this girl, this girl, this girl, and I'm going to throw it on the screen, right? I'm like, but my life's a whole lot different, right? And I'm like, what changed? How did I go from this broke, nerdy to this guy, right? Implying that there's a transformation. And then I'm talking about how there's like articles about me, credibility stack. And I'm like, look, you're here because you're ready for a change. Maybe you're tired of this, or maybe you're tired of this. Regardless, you're here because you want to put an end to the problem once and for all. So you can see how as I'm doing this, and this isn't the full VSL, right? After this, I would go into the mechanism or the unique selling proposition, but now they actually want to hear it. So as you can see, I'm starting the thing, I'm hitting a dream state, then I'm hitting another future reality or dream state, future reality. So you notice how I talk about how my life was shit, then I boom, hit another dream state. Talk about how my life, fast forward, my life's like this, boom, boom, boom. Now I'm like, but you're probably wondering how it changed. Well, it wasn't because of this, wasn't this, boom, another future dream state, boom. And I keep going. This is what keeps their head in the clouds thinking about how amazing it's going to be. When you get into all this very heady, logical stuff, all they're going to be thinking is, where is this going? And I have to go and do all this, and it's problems, and it's just all the things they don't want. So remember, you're always balancing these two opposing forces. And that's basically what I wanted to show you today. I'm not going to go too long on this video. I just wanted you to get this grasp of the understanding that whenever you're telling a story, it's not a linear story. You really want to keep going, pop out to the future reality, boom, pop out to the future, come back to the past, pop out to the future, come back to the past. As you're telling that story, that's what keeps them entranced and hooked into the story to want to keep listening. If you just go on this long, drawn-out discovery story, they're not going to really care, right? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, where is this going, right? So I want you to use that in your sales pages, and you'll be thankful that you did.